Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million online rendezvous for entrepreneurs. This is Sramana Mitra, founder and CEO of 1M by 1M, coming to you live from Menlo Park, California, in the heart of Silicon Valley. 1M by 1M, as you know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. And in support of that mission, we do a ton of work in the media and through our various platforms, social media, etc. So today we are coming to you live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So you can dial in from any of those platforms and connect in. In these sessions, I normally do Q&A. So that's what we're going to be doing today as well. We have put together a slate of questions that we get from different sources, and I'm going to answer those today. And by all means, ask your questions in the public chat of whichever platform you're on, and I will answer those questions after we're done with the video segment of the program. And if you want me to look at your project, let's say you are working on a startup, either you've launched or in a pre-launch phase, or even pre-startup phase, just noodling an idea, etc. We have extensive support for that category of entrepreneurs as well. I will be happy to actually listen to your pitch and dialogue with you, brainstorm with you on strategy. And those are our free public strategy roundtables where we provide mentoring, coaching, consulting, whatever you call it. These to access those, you need to go to our website, 1mby1m.com, and go to the free public roundtables page. And there you will find the entire schedule with registration links. You will need to go in there and register to pitch or attend, and you will get instructions accordingly. Those are safe working sessions. I constantly get, obviously, requests for feedback on pitches, and that's what we have created. We've had over 150,000 people participate in those sessions. In September, we're going to be doing our 500th roundtable session. So this has been going on since 2008, and you're most welcome to use this program. So without further ado, I'm going to go to today's programming. I'm going to take questions that we have assimilated or collated from various sources and start answering them. The first question, which I thought was a poignant question, and it caused me to think of actually a startup idea to address this issue. The question is, do you have startup ideas for the post-COVID world that would address the issues of isolation and loneliness? So this is a piece that I have developed in the Startup Ideas for the Post-COVID World series that I am publishing right now on our blog, and it's also on LinkedIn. You can access it through any of those sources. You must have read and maybe experienced this issue of isolation and loneliness as people are stuck in their shelter-in-place situations, and those who live alone are in need of human contact, social contact. And for the moment, it kind of needs to be virtual contact. There's not a lot of physical contact that is going to be so easy to establish at the moment. So let me take you through my idea. In December 2017, almost 2 years ago, a little bit less than 2 years ago, I wrote a piece called Let's Go Beyond Superficial Virtual Interactions in 2018. So this is a piece that I would encourage you to look at. And I was encouraging my readers to look for opportunities to interact more in person through meaningful activities. And I shared in that piece my own experience with our literary group, Caravanserai Literati. Now, at the end of 2019, I published our literati reading list as my readers were asking me what we were reading in our literary group. And this is a heavy-duty literary group, so we read stuff like Nabokov and Proust and Joyce and Virginia Woolf, Graham Greene, Henry James, etc. Well, little did I know that the literati, to self-preserve, would have to go virtual and operate through a video conferencing platform in the wake of the COVID menace. Before, literati was a salon. So we would meet at different houses. We're, about a dozen people, and there are 6 or 7 houses across the group. And we would take turns in hosting these salons. And people would show up around 6:30 in the evening. We would have a long 3-4 hour evening with, drinks and hors d'oeuvres, a full dinner, etc., and then conversation throughout discussing the book in question. That was our format. But of course, when shelter in place came about, we had to move to a virtual conferencing platform. Nonetheless, every evolutionary process comes with its own set of problems and opportunities. So today I'm going to reflect on a startup idea that is born out of the isolation that humanity is facing in the post-COVID world. Long before the coronavirus pandemic, humanity was already experiencing a loneliness pandemic. In quarantine, a lot of people living alone found themselves starved for emotional connection. As I watched Zoom become the social network of the COVID era, I also observed that it is not easy to spend an hour on small talk through video. In my own social network, I started suggesting salon-style discussion topics so that 6 people can actually have a meaningful conversation rather than chit-chat and shoot the breeze. The latter is wholly unsatisfying and leaves one empty and irritated. Through all this, Literati, our literary group, transitioned effortlessly into a lovely congregation of a dozen people discussing Sadat Hassan Manto's Bitter Fruit in April, Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway in May, and Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five in June. We are currently reading Vladimir Nabokov's luscious memoir, Speak Memory, and will meet on July 8th this week for the discussion. Following that, in August, we will tackle James Joyce's Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. So can we start thinking about a new kind of social network? Makes me wonder if a social network can be built on top of Zoom or another video conferencing platform to bring together small literary groups that can explore meaningful friendships and deep connections. In doing so, I still believe that the in-person nature of the interaction needs to be the ultimate goal. Today's virtual-only interaction is not going to be a permanent condition. Humanity will again sit around the table and share meals. Thus, one of the primary conditions I would impose on this network is that it should be based on proximity. How far are members willing to drive? 30 minutes may be ideal. There may be other clustering algorithms that can drive matches for groups of 8 to 12 people to come together. Shared alma maters could be one. Shared taste in literature could be another. Our literati, for example, reads a lot of classics and masterpieces. Another group may be interested in reading crime fiction from various countries like Australia. There's a wonderful detective series, Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries. Or Botswana, there's another wonderful crime series Precious Ramaswamy is the detective, this lady's number one detective agency, you may have heard of it, and so on. So you could have different types of literature be the core interest group. There is something magical about a group of people getting to know one another through literature and stories. The consistency of convening around meaningful, meaty topics on a regular basis has the recipe for long-term relationships taking root. And when these interactions eventually get back to being over meals in person, these connections would further intensify. Notice the framework I'm discussing is one that consists only of groups, small groups, with 8 to 12 people, no more. Its effectiveness is in the concentrated attention, the process of getting to know one another deeply. Quite the opposite of the superficial virtual interactions flooding Facebook and TikTok. So let's consider functionality. In reflecting upon what features and functions such a network would need to have, I go back to the Literatis workflow. We use Doodles for scheduling. Doodle is this cloud app for scheduling. One of us leads each salon and is required to put together study notes and discussion points. We use Google Docs and email for this purpose. The downside is that we do not have a central repository where we could access everything long term. It would be nice to have. After each salon, in person, we upload photos to a Facebook group. We celebrate birthdays. Nothing terribly complicated, but some gentle workflow elements that enable a dozen people to collaborate and interact on an ongoing basis. The additional and more significant value of the social network would be in the matchmaking and clustering of bringing compatible people together. We built our group within our social network. Everyone in it is someone's friend. Most of us have known one another for many years. But the social network we're considering would need to be able to bring compatible strangers together. In doing so successfully, it would contribute immensely towards alleviating the loneliness pandemic that is likely to last well beyond COVID-19. There is also the opportunity to create user-generated content around study guides and discussion notes to be shared across groups. And finally, virtual interactions around specific books that multiple groups are discussing. Let's talk about business model and market size. My guess is that participants should be charged $10 a month or $100 a year to be in this community. This means with 1 million users, we're looking at a $100 million annual recurring revenue business. Is this possible? I think so. Can it be larger? I hope so. The population of lonely people who are also literature aficionados presumably is much larger than 1 million. Besides, the groups could also be built around film or theater, same principle, but the discussion hinge could be film or theater. In any case, a $100 million ARR business would be valued at $1 billion, and so in principle, this is a unicorn idea. If the ARR level gets to $1 billion based on 10 million users, now we're talking serious numbers. Humanity's search for human connection in the pre-COVID world led us to creepy trends like Tinder, swiping for matches, and on-demand hookups. Unhealthy to the extreme, damaging to self-esteem, soul-destroying, dangerous to the body. These trends have left people feeling hollow, empty. I believe that healthy, wholesome, soulful literature and film-based social network would create a different organizing principle for engineering small, deeply anchored communities. They would fill the world with meaningful friendships and even romance that blossoms in natural, organic ways, not the creepy sort. If you want to work on this idea and are looking for mentoring, come to 1 million by 1 million, and I will be happy to help you guide you through this process. All right, so that's our first question. Another question on the startup ideas topic is, what are some e-commerce startup ideas? By the way, the reason we are putting so much emphasis on startup ideas right now is that we ran a poll recently, and you may have participated in it, and we asked what kind of content do you want to see in our discussions here. And startup ideas came out number one. So we are putting a lot of emphasis on startup ideas. People seem to want to start companies in this post-COVID world. So e-commerce of startup ideas. E-commerce is a very crowded space. However, there are always niche e-commerce opportunities. Plus, there are some key trends that you should pay attention to. Vertical e-commerce marketplaces is a key trend. This could be anything. It could be art marketplaces, it could be artisan marketplaces, it could be steel industry marketplaces. There's all kinds of B2B marketplaces, steel industry marketplaces, furniture industry marketplaces, B2B marketplaces, all those types of things. Another key trend that I'm seeing is SaaS-powered vertical marketplaces. It's a nuanced variation on the vertical marketplaces trend. So the way that works is you create a software as a service product for one side of the marketplace that brings one side of that marketplace onto the platform by subscribing to the software as a service product. You do the same thing. You do a SaaS product for the other side of the marketplace. The other side comes because they want to use that software as a software as a service. Once you have critical mass, once you have enough people on both sides of the marketplace using your SaaS product, you can start having them interact and do business together in a marketplace mode, and you can get further, marketplace commissions on top of the SaaS product. So you get subscription revenue and you get transaction revenue from marketplace commissions. Very powerful model, actually. The other big trend in the e-commerce world is personalization. People are looking to have as much personalization as possible in the user experience, and we are still scratching the surface of the personalization trend. And pushing the envelope on personalization, experiential shopping online is a variation of the personalization trend that you can really push the envelope on, and you can do all kinds of things. AR, VR. There are all different ways you can, embellish the experiential shopping trend online. And those are all going to be interesting trends around which you can think about niche e-commerce ventures. Another point I'm going to give you to look for ideas in this segment is our Thought Leaders in E-commerce interview series on the 1M by 1M blog. If you go to the blog, and so you go to 1mby1m.com, go to the blog, and then you go to the left navigation panel where you will see e-commerce. That gets you to the Thought Leaders in E-commerce section. This is an interview series, and you will find that I've brought on lots of people who are experienced in this segment. And I've always asked them, what do you think is an open idea in your segment? And just to give you an example, one of the interviews, Thought Leaders in E-commerce, Upler CEO Grégoire Chauvin discusses B2B marketplaces in depth. It's a excellent discussion. He will give you an idea, and he also points to the open problems. Another pointer, an interview that you may want to listen to on our April 23rd roundtable, and the recording is available. We had as our guest Garrett Goldberg, partner at B Partners. Garrett discusses his firm's enterprise-focused investment thesis, including some unique insights on SaaS-powered vertical marketplaces. You can listen to that detailed discussion, do a search on Roundtable Recap, April 23rd, 23, discussion on vertical marketplaces. And if you go to the to our YouTube channel also, you can pick up that that interview, and it would give you access to, what are the trends, how are the investors thinking about this trend, and so forth. I'm going to switch gears a little bit from startup ideas to something a little bit different. The question is, what questions should entrepreneurs ask their mentors? Well, these days, everyone seems to be a startup mentor. Whether they have ever done a startup or not, whether they have ever raised money or not, they're ready to advise entrepreneurs. I want to share with you some things we have learned in running the 1M by 1M program for 10 plus years, some background and metrics. We have hosted almost 500 free online mentoring roundtables. We started experimenting with this format of mentoring way back in the fall of 2008. At that time, 1M by 1M did not exist yet, not even in our heads. It wasn't until my January 2010 New Year resolution, which you can still read on our blog, that the concept of 1M by 1M was born. The 1M by 1M premium program was launched at the end of 2010, so we're just coming up to 10 years. It took us about 1 year to figure out how to do what we were hoping to do to help entrepreneurs at scale, to mentor entrepreneurs at scale. Today, over 150,000 people have participated at our free roundtables. At least 2,500 have pitched, if not more. The recordings are made publicly available on our YouTube channel. We use the same format in our private roundtables for the premium members, although those recordings are not available except to the members. We've done private sessions every week for the last 10 years. We have been able to develop and enrich a curriculum that entrepreneurs use in web self-service mode over the last 10 years. These curriculums increasingly are able to address questions from the entrepreneurs without the need for interactive sessions. As such, when we do get into interactive discussions, they're on more sophisticated issues. The basics can be handled by the curriculum. Obviously, the feedback is good, or else we wouldn't be able to continue with such a consistent, long-running effort. So, I feel that it may be useful for entrepreneurs, investors, incubators, advisors, mentors, and other players in the ecosystem to learn some of the highlights of what we have learned. So here we go. Here are the questions that you may want to pay attention to. First, it is extremely difficult to give negative feedback to entrepreneurs without triggering a defensive reaction. I was not good at this when we started. I'm very good at analyzing business scenarios, but I was never good at sugarcoating the feedback in a way that is particularly nurturing or reassuring. Very early on in our experiments with online mentoring, we told entrepreneurs that this forum is for candid, constructive feedback and that they may include negative feedback. We don't tell entrepreneurs what they want to hear. We tell them that what they need to hear. While some egos get bruised, entrepreneurs have more or less accepted our approach and have given us permission to critique their ventures. I have personally gotten better at giving feedback in a palatable way. The biggest thing that has worked well is that we never, ever give negative input gratuitously. Everything has been in the spirit of helping both the entrepreneurs and the businesses grow. Nonetheless, if through this process I've offended you or hurt your feelings, let me take this opportunity to apologize. It was not my intent. Second, our hypothesis about case study-based learning and mentoring is working very well. Both at the public roundtables and at private roundtables, Entrepreneurs learn not only from pitching, but also from listening to the pitches and interactive discussions with other entrepreneurs. In addition, we have the entire curriculum backed up with case studies, so entrepreneurs are not only getting a piece of input, but seeing that strategy exercised by an entrepreneur who has leveraged it well. Today, we are seeing entrepreneurs making good, solid decisions based on what they're learning from the curriculum and the roundtables without even speaking with anyone in the program. And that's really cool. Makes us scalable. Third, it is a complex exercise to give people a message that goes against the grain of media hype. The entire entrepreneurship and technology media goes wild with deals like WhatsApp that is entirely speculative. Entrepreneurs think that they can raise millions and get acquired for billions without a business model. We don't believe that. It happens, but it happens very rarely. Our methodology is a lean, bootstrapped, capital-efficient startup methodology that puts a great deal of emphasis on business model and monetization. Speculative stuff is neither what we believe in nor something we encourage entrepreneurs to pursue. As such, we are unable to get through to folks with the speculative mindset. So if that's your mindset, we are not the right program for you. Number 4, a lot of entrepreneurs are looking for silver bullets. They are not necessarily interested in doing the hard work needed to build sustainable businesses. Building a business is a marathon, not a sprint. We don't have silver bullets. No one does. As I often say, 1M by 1M is like a gym membership. Either you use the machines and get in shape, or nothing consequential will happen. We do well with those entrepreneurs who are willing to put in the work and are realistic about what the outcomes can be. Number 5, some entrepreneurs are over-anxious about confidentiality. Nothing ever gets done because they're so busy being stealth and protecting their ideas. If you really have a great idea that sufficiently challenges the status quo, it will most likely get rejected and ignored, not stolen. And if your idea is very easy to steal, then you cannot defend yourself because sooner or later you need to be in the market. Idea is necessary, but not sufficient. Strategy and execution are really what drives success. And we really believe in this firmly. 6th point is entrepreneurs are obsessed with financing. The media hypes up financing. It is an unwelcome message to deliver to an entrepreneur dreaming of millions of investment money that her project is not fundable. Some not fundable yet, some not fundable ever. Many entrepreneurs tune out if you tell them so. We do regardless. But we also tell them that they can still build the business, and either they will have to bootstrap for a while or forever. And then we teach them how to do that. 7th, positioning is a poorly understood discipline. Most entrepreneurs do a poor job. It is one of the key areas where we add value. This is also one of my greatest strengths, so it's been a natural. We do a lot of work in positioning. And in COVID, we've had a lot of positioning, repositioning, pivots, and blah, blah, blah. And in general, in early stage startups, pivots are very often sought to find product market fit. So positioning is super important. 8th, except for a few geographies, Silicon Valley, New York City, Boston, most other seed capital ecosystems are pretty weak. They're improving. There are other geographies that have come up. London is good now. Berlin is interesting. Paris is interesting. There's, of course, Bangalore and Delhi. Those are good ecosystems now. Then there's Austin, Seattle. But it will take a while for these ecosystems to really mature such that investors are willing to take on significant risks. In effect, venture capital operates not as risk capital, but as growth capital. The entrepreneur has to find ways of financing the high-risk portion of the process We try to make startups acutely aware of this phenomenon. Also, in the geographies where the ecosystems are not mature, the valuations are very bad. Entrepreneurs end up working for investors pretty soon unless they're very careful. So you need kind of mentoring to navigate all of this. The good news is Silicon Valley investors are willing to invest elsewhere as well. And all over the world now, there are investors who are willing to invest elsewhere. So all over North America, there are investors who are, Pan-American investors, including Canada. Some are, global investors. So there's improvement on this front right now. But you need to find investor entrepreneur fit. Just like you're looking for product market fit, you're going to have to find investor entrepreneur fit. And that is the key to getting money from investors. And we do a lot of work in this domain. Ninth, personally, I find it disheartening to see entrepreneurs give up, but they do. Even good ones do. I'm still learning to take that in stride and continue to believe that entrepreneurial energy is like air, water, and other essential elements. We need to reduce infant entrepreneur mortality. On the flip side, some people just don't have what it takes. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. This is also a core reality. Finally, at the end of the day, I believe intellectual honesty matters. I also observe that the ecosystem is inherently dishonest, and mentors, advisors, incubators, media all promise entrepreneurs things that cannot be delivered. We have tried to make 1M by 1M a pragmatic, realistic, intellectually honest community, a place where primarily entrepreneurs can learn. We do not promise the moon, but sometimes we encounter entrepreneurs who join the program with expectations that cannot be met. To them, our sincere apologies. Since we do not have a screening process, we let everybody in. Equal opportunity, however, doesn't mean equal outcome. So I hope that answers the question. I am going to stop there. I will answer one question which keeps coming up, and I try to answer it twice in these sessions, once at the beginning and once at the end. So we're coming to the end. So the question that I want to answer is, how can I get feedback from you on my venture? Well, what you need to do is go to the 1 million by 1 million website, go to free public roundtables, and we describe very much in detail how to get feedback from me through these roundtables. The schedule is there. Basically, every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time, we do roundtables over a WebEx call where I mentor entrepreneurs. So you can bring your project there and I will work on your project with you. These are safe working sessions. The upcoming one is this Thursday on July 9th. Then we have July 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th. A couple of pointers on that. We have a self-assessment. Again, on the blog, on the website, actually, you will find self-assessment on the top left corner of the navigation bar. This is a tool that I recommend is used. It's a free tool. Investors ask you questions. These questions are outlined in the self-assessment. We would like you to answer these questions. And where you get stuck, especially if you get stuck on methodology points, you can look at 1M by 1M Basic, which is our curriculum-only option. It's just $99 a month, and you can basically go do the core curriculum in 1M by 1M Basic. If you put in 50 hours in a month or across 2 months or 3 months, you will get a good sense of the methodology, and then you can execute. You will be able to answer these questions. And of course, if you want ongoing mentoring on a weekly basis, your best bet would be 1M by 1M Premium, which is our annual membership fee-based model, $1,000 annual membership fee, and I'll be happy to work with you if you decide to join that program. So whichever way you want to work and use the 1M by 1M resources is fine. We have a tremendous amount of free resources. Just start following the blog, start reading the Entrepreneur Journeys case studies. Maybe every day spend an hour on reading 5 or 6 case studies, and you will get into the head of 5 or 6 successful entrepreneurs. All of them are available for free on our website. All this will help you learn. There's a tremendous learning curve for a first-time entrepreneur, and you're going to need to climb that learning curve somehow efficiently and effectively. So with that, I will sign off. Be safe. Wherever you are in the world, conditions are different in different places. If you are in a good place where COVID is under control and things are opening up in a safe way, hallelujah, you have escaped the worst. But there are a lot of parts of the world where things are not good yet. So if you are in one of those parts of the world, please stay safe, take care, wear masks, isolate socially, and protect yourselves and your loved ones. I will see you next week, or I will see you at the public roundtable later this week. Bye-bye. Thank you for coming.